This is the pattern. Trace the size that you're interested in. I'm using a sweatshirt fabric. I folded the fabric in the grain line and this is the back piece pinned. I'm going to add 1 centimeter in seam allowance. When I cut away these parts from the pattern, I get the front piece. And I lay this one out against the fold and I add 1 centimeter in seam allowance. It's always important to make notches where the pockets is going to be and where the center front and center back are. Now I've folded some of the fabric upwards so I can fit the sleeve, and on the other side I will fit the hood. Add 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Make a notch where the shoulder should be. Now I have folded the rest of the fabric in the grain line so I can fit the hood on the fold. Pin it and add 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Make a notch at the center. Cut the pocket and paste it to the side piece so it will look like this. I have added 1 centimeter in seam allowance and cut 2 pieces of those, and then I cut 2 pieces of the pocket, and I'm using this thinner jersey fabric, and I've also made another hoodie. Start by pinning the pocket right sides together with the front piece, and you sew with a stretchy seam and 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Put the side piece right sides together with the pocket and the front. Pin this side and sew it with a stretchy seam and 1 centimeter in the seam allowance. When you sew it, it's important that you get a neat corner right where the pocket starts. Lay the pockets in place and press it and pin it in place, and I sew just a straight stitch to hold it in place down here. The hood lays right sides together and I sew this curved seam, and I do it the same way with the jersey fabric. When I've done that, I can lay the hood right sides together like this through the face opening, and you pin this seam next to seam and front to front, and you sew all the way around. Turn it so you get the right sides out, and then you put the lining inside of the hood. Make sure that this seam looks neat and tidy. Pin it and press it. And then you sew a stretchy seam all the way around it. Lay the front and back piece right sides together and pin the shoulders, and sew it with 1 centimeter in seam allowance and a stretchy seam. Pin the hood in the neck hole. Make sure that you have it right sides together and front to front and back to back. Sew all the way around. It is time to put in the sleeves. Turn the right side up and take a sleeve and pin it shoulder to shoulder, side to side, right sides together. Sew all the way from side to side. I have cut the cuffs, make sure it's in the right direction and fold it with the right sides out, press it and pin it in the middle of the sleeve and sides to side. When you sew it, you stretch in the same time. Pin the side and the sleeve. Make sure it's right sides together and seam to seam. Pin the cuff for the waist, right sides together and sew the side seam. And then you fold it in the middle and press it. Pin the seam next to a side seam, right sides together and the other side to the side, and when you sew it you should stretch it. And now your hoodie is finished.